All right, Greenleaf fans, I just finished watching Gratitude, the mid-season finale for season 4, and I have to say that it was fantastic. I loved it from start to finish. I Let me just put it this way, a lot of stuff went down, and excuse me if I'm flipping papers, but pages of my notebook, but at the 21-minute mark, I want to say at the 21-minute mark, around that time, that's when Dante and Sophia were at Dante's place, and she wanted to have sex. I had already had one page of notes filled up. By the end of the episode, I almost had my second page filled. A lot of stuff went down, so I just want you to strap yourselves in. I don't know how long this video will be, but it will probably be the longest episode review I've done for Greenleaf so far. This is the 10th episode, and I do not second guess myself on this, but I'm giving this episode a 10 out of 10. I think it was fantastic. It was a great stopping point for 2019 because the show will be coming back in 2020 to finish up, I believe, the 8 remaining episodes of this particular season. But before I get into the episode, guys, you know the drill. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are less than 300 people away from reaching 95,000 subscribers. Also, make sure to follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram. You know, it's all down in the description box below. And without further ado, let's just get into it. So we pretty much pick up where we left off. The congregation cannot believe Grace is stepping down as the pastor. She takes AJ out to the front of the church, basically asking, what are you doing here? But then AJ, is pretty much like, what, you're blowing up my phone. Sophia's blowing up my phone, leaving a voice message about our mom going to jail. What's going on? So he decides to come back to turn himself in. From there, Bob is flipping out on Judy and Phil about the fact that Grace is stepping down, which leaves a lot of obstacles for him to face because Grace was the key for his plans. And he wants the vote to happen tomorrow with the deacon board. And Judy, he literally snaps at her like, look, you're going back to Phoenix right now. And she is pissed. So she storms out of the office. Bob figures that Phil has something to do with Grace stepping down. As we know, it was the blackmail that he got from Charity about her lying to the police. So Bob still isn't, and also on top of that, Bob isn't over the fact that Phil hurt his daughter Judy, because Judy pretty much made like, oh, he's in love with the singer, basically referencing Charity. And Bob is thinking, well, this better be good, basically taking what Phil said, that don't worry, Charity is a key that we can use, basically referencing the whole voting thing where she's the tiebreaker, being the longest serving Greenleaf working for the church, who can like split a tie amongst the board members. So then we have Charity and May talking. May and I love this scene because Charity tries to console her mother, like, Mama, I had nothing to do with what Phil did to Grace. And May saw right through that crap and called her out on her bull. So, I mean, even Charity's face when Grace stepped down from the, well, is it not really a pulpit, but a stage? She stepped down and then, walked through the congregation to take her son to the front. Well, basically, Charity's face, I'm like, don't you even begin to feel guilty. Like, this was your fault. So just shut up, Charity, even though you technically didn't say anything in that scene. So I just love how May's like, I'm not even mad at you when I'm about this whole situation. It's because of that greasy Negro Phil, and then the fact that he just uses you as a pawn. And on top of that, it's like, I'm mad because you're going to come up here and lie to my face after I had lost everything. It's kind of like, if your mom played the lottery and didn't win the numbers, and then you want to tell her something and she ain't having it. It's kind of like that, I guess. But she also takes it to the next level, saying that I just wanted my life. And I'm like, so you want to destroy someone else's life to get your own? Basically, May laid it down where it's not just about Grace. It's the fact that Grace is a part of me. You're a part of me. Basically, everyone from the Greenleaf family is a part of each other. So if you damage or, ruin one person's, I guess you could say, umbilical cord to the Greenleaf, I'm trying to figure out an analogy here. But basically, if you hurt any root of the Greenleaf tree, everyone else is going to feel it. It's like a ripple effect. So what you did to Grace is going to affect everyone. There you go. Then we have AJ, Grace, and Aaron. And basically, AJ saying he wants to turn himself in. Aaron makes a good point. Well, if you want to turn yourself in, why are you waiting until tomorrow to do it? Why not just go right now? And then AJ, kind of just lashing out at people and walking out. I'm like, I know he isn't going to try to bounce like he always does, where he tries to do the right thing, but then he gets pissed off and just decides to leave. But luckily, that's not what happened. And, Grace and Aaron are both trying to figure out a way to say, what is he an addict? And basically the entire episode, AJ's not explaining why he did what he did, concerning the drugs, not to mention why is he turning himself in, so it seems like he's hiding something. Then we have Grace and Carissa in a quick scene. Carissa's in a fluster because she has to do something, which we'll find out about later. But Grace is pretty much saying, hey, in the midst of the whole AJ thing, I can't buy out the house. And then she storms out of the house. And Dante and Sophia are making out. That's pretty much it. That's all that happens in that one scene. Carissa has chlamydia. And she needs to take all of her antibiotics. And no sex for 10 days. We have Misty telling the Greenleafs about the situation at the church. Basically, if the vote goes through, they want to dissolve Calvary and make it a H&H church. And then they figure out that Charity is going to be the deciding factor. And then from there, Charity is asking, and I did the video about that. Remember, what was it yesterday? Will Charity finally see Phil for who he really is? And it's just like I thought, she confronts him, but then he says just the right thing, and she's reverted to being his pawn. And Carissa's reading the Bible, lo and behold, and Jacob's trying to get it on, but she's like, no, I'm on my period. And then we have Charity and Bishop talking, and she's going off. And remember, like I made the Jan from the Brady Bunch joke about how Grace is Marsha and Charity is Jan, going, Marsha, Gigi. I told you she'd do it. And basically Bishop's like, if you're going to throw away everything your mother and I have built up to give to Bob Whitmore, you're a person, but you're going to regret it. So basically it's just like Charity is just trying to get hers by taking away everyone else's, if you will. And after that, let's see, AJ and Sophia are talking, and basically, with him going to jail, she's like, I want to send you money, I'll send you letters, but he doesn't want any of that, and he storms out. She calls Dante and wants to come over to his place. Then we get to the scene, and again, they are just like, a lot of stuff is happening. They go over to the next day where they're having to vote. It's a tie. Phil goes out there to get Charity, who doesn't want to do it. He says, you don't have to. But then we don't see what happens next. All we know is that Bishop gets a phone call. He gets an answer. May doesn't want to know. Then Bob calls her to talk about the future of the church. Then we jump back to Jacob and Carissa. And I know this was supposed to be a serious scene, but I could not help but laugh when Jacob went off on Carissa because his voice was cracking on her. Basically, he wanted to throw her behind out, making a good point. You wanted to get up out this house, you get out of this house. Yeah, I stepped out on the marriage too, but I didn't give you a disease. So really, yeah, that was a great scene. After he left, she goes ahead and calls Fernando. So after that, and basically it also is like, hey, get a lawyer because this is over. So we have Bob and May talking about the expansion of the church. He wants a strong black pastor in the pulpit, so offers May the position as head pastor of this new H&H development. And before that moves forward, May brings up the question about Phil and what he did to Grace in regards to the blackmail. So we have that discussion off screen. And again, I'm flipping my page here. Sorry about the background noise. I know it's light, but just want to let people know what's going on here. So we get to Dante and Sophia, and this is, again, where I began my second page of notes here. And basically, they're at his place. She wants sex. I mean, because he's like, you want to take it to the room? I've never done it before. We don't have to. I want to. We'll go as far as you want to. And that leads back to the question of, will she end up being pregnant, even though she had that, what was it, a surgery or the diagnosis that states that she will never be able to have kids? I'm just saying, you never know. It reminds me of, and I know if Loving You is wrong, we still don't have confirmation on Brad being the father, but if Brad is the father of Alex's baby, then it leads to two things. Number one, there must be some, African American descent in one of their bloodlines somewhere down the road, probably Brad's. And then also the fact that the vasectomy that he had wasn't as foolproof as they thought, due to the fact that it is, I forgot the percentage, but some vasectomies don't necessarily mean no babies. So just saying, you never know with Sophia. I mean, I don't know where the writers are taking her. So isn't that kind of messed up if she ends up pregnant, but then Zora didn't, but she did have to go through abuse, but whatever. All right, so then we have Fernando and Karissa, who basically slaps him and basically tells him to piss off with the slap because he gave her chlamydia. But the most important thing here is going over the details of the will and how he actually got it. The Mrs. Davis wrote off the will, and what was it, Robert McCready? Wait, isn't that Mac, I think? And basically the will itself disappeared. And that leads to questions about, isn't it interesting how Mrs. Davis died and the Bishop and May ended up with the house? So my mom, I was actually talking with her briefly. She did watch the finale. She did. And I believe there were some repeat episodes last night. So she did watch most of it. And she was saying it was probably having something to do with Mac, and Bishop and May didn't know about it because Mac was just doing a lot of things from behind the scenes. So you never know. But then we move on to Grace and AJ, probably the best looking scene of the episode, just the lighting and everything, standing out there by the lake and talking, and him wiping her tears away and everything like that because she doesn't want him to go, and still he won't say why he's leaving. I mean, yeah, why he's doing what he's doing. And it's like, some things aren't meant to be understood or some along those lines. Overall, the best looking shot of the episode. Okay, then we get to another interesting scene. We get to Bishop and May. Based off the dialogue and the fact that, Bob was asking May to be in, and I probably said this already earlier in the video, but I forgot. This episode has so much stuff in it. I think it's safe to say that Charity voted in favor of Harmony and Hope. So that's why, even though Bob got what he wanted, he still needs a strong black Greenleaf in the pulpit to make his vision happen. So May is telling Bishop that she made the decision already to take Bob's offer, which is kind of, very contradictory because of several episodes ago when Bishop was asked to, and correct me if I'm wrong, he was asked to preach at a church in Atlanta for just one Sunday because the visiting pastor canceled at the last minute. And May's like, no, don't you dare. It's like, you need to focus on the church we have here to get it back rather than, staying in the pulpit of another church. Basically told him not to do that. Forbade him to talk about the blackmail used to use on Connie. So basically, here she is making a big decision like this herself, and that pisses him off. Then we move over to Phil and Charity over at his place. He proposes, and honestly, she never said yes. She just started kissing him to close her off, and they had sex. That's pretty much it. So then we have Phil and Bob the next day where, Bob is talking about linguistics, or look, I forgot the word, my bad. Basically talking about the fact that, hey, when I'm in charge of this new Harmony and Hope, there's a place I know about, what was it, like a gym or something like that. And, with me leading the charge, we can get a nice price. And then Bob lets him know right there, nah, son, nah, fam, you ain't leading this. I got May. She's my partner. What? Basically, he drops the ball about the fact that, hey, I'm pissed at you because you're the one that booted Grace out of the head pastor position when she was supposed to be my second hand or right hand woman. So Phil is pissed at Bob because after 20 years of service, it's like, you know what? I want to get back and start preaching in my church. And what did he say? It's like, don't be mad at me, Phil. Don't be mad at me, Bob, after all the things you done. Did I hear you correctly? Again, basically, like, sound like foghorn leghorn, like, boy, did you just say what I think you said? And it's basically the situation of, Bob's done a lot of shady stuff in the past to get what he wants. So Phil is just pleading with him like, hey, what can I do to change your mind? I'll do anything. Then we switch over to Carissa and Jacob. And while he's asking, why haven't you left yet? She's like, I'm not going anywhere, and brings up the information about the will. But she talks more about that towards the end of the episode. From there, we actually move forward with May and Phil, because Phil comes over, and originally I thought it had something to do with the engagement, but no. He's literally saying to her face, "Nah, the arrangement you made with Bob is terminated now. Don't even worry about it. It's terminated. You don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm going to be working beside Bob." Well, I'd rather him tell me. And he literally Bob literally either calls or texts May at that very moment, which I think is interesting, because what was it, a couple episodes ago when Connie, was in her feelings about not getting an invitation to May and Bishop's, impromptu engagement party. She went to Corinna with the information about, "Hey, dude, I'm assuming my invitation was lost in the mail, and then I could just add you to the list." "Well, you do that, thank you." And then as soon as she leaves, Corinne looks at her watch and notices the minute, down to the minute. So basically, Lady May anticipated when Connie was going to confront Corinne about the invitation to the party that she didn't get, kind of like Phil anticipated exactly when Bob was going to contact May about their arrangement that they made. So this moves forward with the fact that, he tells May and Zora that within 10 days, the church is going to be torn down. And, for Bishop and May to go get all their, personal belongings from that. Then Charity comes down, and then she announces to her mom that they're engaged, and then they go upstairs for a private talk, and he breaks off the engagement despite it being less than 24 hours because he has to marry Judy. And then we get to the end of the episode. Grace is, standing by Faith's grave, and this is probably most emotional scene of the episode. I ain't gonna lie. I pray, every night before I go to bed and everything like that. But it's been a while since I've had a good talk with God, and I swear that Grace had a great one. And it just goes to show that in the midst of, when life is falling apart, that doesn't have to be the only time you talk with God. It's sometimes good. Like, heck, I was talking with him every time I would go to drive, because Lynchburg is full of crazy drivers. I went out this morning to get some stuff done. That's why this video review is late. But yeah, had a safe trip to my hometown and back. And, just to talk with God, I definitely plan on doing that later tonight once I finish, wrapping up these videos. But just, praying for the family, and then the fact that she needs guidance, because to be honest, everything does seem lost at the moment. The family falling apart, losing the church, it is crazy. It's crazy. But, basically, Carissa confronts Jacob about the intel involving the house, and did Bishop have Mrs. Davis killed to get the house? And Jacob's dumbfounded by this intel. And then from there we get Zora pissed off at Sophia, and then Charity breaking down, and then May's in the prayer closet, and Bishop is just reading books on Bob, just trying to figure out more about his plans and everything. And as the prayer goes on, she gets a visit from a young man. And I say young man because on IMDb, this person is credited as young man. That's going to be his own separate video, but who strangely looks a lot like AJ, who just gives an interesting statement about how everything has an expiration date. And Grace points him to the direction to go towards the gate, and he does that. And that's the end of the episode. So, this was a great episode, guys. I honestly am glad you all, well, not just you all, but my mom as well, pushed me to do Greenleaf. When I say push, yeah, it was kind of a forceful push, but the fact that thanks to If Loving You Is Wrong success on the channel earlier this year, that made me go, you know what? Due to popular demand, let me review Greenleaf. And you guys have been showing up and showing out the past couple episode preview breakdowns and whatnot. So hopefully this episode review does well too. But overall, this was a fun ride. I still plan on doing a video sometime this month. It's no rush. It'll just be a video. Oh, sorry, hit my mic. Just a video going over my thoughts on the first 10 episodes of season 4. I enjoyed it. I literally enjoyed it. There are so many questions, like where the heck is Noah? Like, he was supposed to be coming down after episode 3, and we're 7 episodes later. He's still not there. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this episode. Like I said, 10 out of 10 in my book. I've already done my plugs at the beginning of the episode. Subscribe to the channel. You can donate via Cash App or PayPal, and social media links are in the description below. We don't have a date for the return of Greenleaf, just 2020, but I'm going to assume that we're probably not going to get the show back until It depends, because if Loving You is wrong, if that comes on Wednesday nights instead of Tuesdays in 2020, then we might get it back maybe March or April. I'm willing to bet we won't get Greenleaf back until, okay, Ambitions was going to run its course. This is just estimation, guys. I'm just going to estimate April or May of 2020, just an estimation. So with that being said, this is my final Greenleaf episode review of 2019. I do have a few discussion theory videos to do, and thanks you all so much for watching my episode reviews, even if I was late on a few of them.